Hi, so I'm gonna continue on with Mark chapter 14, and then I'll just explain why I haven't done that history video yet at the end maybe. So it says, after 2 days was the feast of Passover and of unleavened bread, and the chief priests and the scribes sought how they might take him by craft and put him to death. But they said, not on the feast day, lest there be an uproar of the people. And being in Bethany in the house of Simon the leper, as he sat at meat, there came a woman having an alabaster box of ointment of spikenard. So Jesus is sitting with Simon the leper, who was probably healed, and he might have just been known now as the leper, which is interesting because no one would, you couldn't touch a leper according to the law without becoming unclean. And Jesus did this often because it was his righteousness and his cleanliness that was then transferred to the lepers and not the other way around. And so this woman came with an alabaster box of ointment of spikenard, very precious. And she broke the box and poured it on his head. And there were some that had indignation within themselves and said, why was this waste of ointment made? For it might have been sold for more than 300 pence and been given to the poor. And they murmured against her. And Jesus said, let her alone, why trouble ye her? She hath wrought a good work on me. For ye have the poor with you always, and whensoever you will, you may do them good. But me you have not always. She hath done what she could. She is come aforehand to anoint my body to the burying. Verily I say to you, wheresoever the gospel shall be preached throughout the whole world, this also that she hath done shall be spoken of for a memorial of her. And Judas Iscariot, one of the 12, went unto the chief priests to betray him unto them. And when they heard it, they were glad, and promised to give him money, and he sought how he might conveniently betray him. And the first day of unleavened bread, when they killed the Passover, his disciples said unto him, where wilt thou go, that we should prepare that thou mayest eat the Passover? And he sendeth forth 2 of his disciples, and said unto them, go ye into the city, and there shall meet you a man bearing a pitcher of water. Follow him. So Christ already has this foreknowledge of this. And wheresoever he shall go in, say ye to the goodman of the house, the master saith, where is the guest chamber where I shall eat the Passover with my disciples? And he will show you a large upper room furnished and prepared. There make ready for us. And his disciples went forth and came into the city, and found as he had said unto them. So his word is true and sure. And they made ready the Passover. And in the evening he cometh with the 12, and as they sat and did eat, Jesus said, verily I say unto you, one of you which eateth with me shall betray me. So this is also a prophecy. It says that my friend who shared my bread has lifted up his heel against me. And they began to be sorrowful, and to say unto one another, is it I? And to another, is it I? And he answered and said unto them, it is one of the 12 that dippeth with me in the dish. The Son of Man indeed goeth as it is written of him, but woe to that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. Good were for that man if he had never been born. So this is also something I just wanted to mention. When I was just before I was born again, I received the Bible from the church in Taiwan. And I opened and I came across this prophecy of Isaiah, and I closed it. I was like, oh, how does he know? And I thought, when was this written? And it's like plus minus 700 years before Jesus. And so Jesus says, the Son of Man indeed goeth as it is written of him. And the scriptures speak of his hands being pierced, his hands and feet being pierced, and him being betrayed and handed over and crucified. For our sins, or dying for our sins as the Lamb of God. And then it says, and he took the cup, and they did eat. Jesus took bread and blessed and brake it and gave to them, and said, take, eat, this is my body. And he took the cup, and when he had given thanks, he gave it to them, and they all drank of it. And he said unto them, This is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many. Verily I say unto you, I will drink no more of the fruit of the vine until the day that I drink it new in the kingdom of God. And when they had sung a hymn, they went out to the Mount of Olives. And Jesus said unto them, All ye shall be offended because of me this night. So he knows what's going to happen. For it is written, I will smite the shepherd, and the sheep shall be scattered. So here's another prophecy. But after that I am risen. So he tells them he's going to rise again. I will go before you to Galilee. But Peter said unto him, Although all shall be offended, yet I will not. And Jesus said unto him, Verily I say unto thee, that this day, even in this night, before the cock crows twice, you shall deny me thrice. But he spake the more vehemently, If I should die with thee, I will not deny thee in any wise. Likewise also said them all. And they came to the place which was named Gethsemane. And he said to his disciples, Sit ye here while I shall pray. And he taketh with him Peter and James and John, and began to be sore amazed, and to be very heavy. So he's in distress. And he said unto them, My soul is exceeding sorrowful unto death. Tarry ye here and watch. And he went forward a little, and fell on the ground and prayed that if it were possible, that the hour might pass from him. And he said, Abba, Father, all things are possible unto thee. Take away this cup from me. Nevertheless, not what I will, but what thou wilt. And he cometh and findeth them sleeping, and said unto Peter, Simon, sleepest thou? Couldst thou not watch 1 hour? So Simon would be called Peter, which means rock. So, because this is written after, they call him Peter. Watch ye and pray, lest ye enter into temptation. The spirit truly is ready, but the flesh is weak. And again he went away and prayed and spake the same words. And when he returned, he found them asleep again, for their eyes were heavy, neither wist they what to answer him. And he came the third time and said unto them, Sleep on now, and take your rest. It is enough, for the hour is come. Behold, the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise up, let us go. Lo, he that betrayeth me is at hand. And immediately while he yet spake, came Judas, one of the 12, with him a great multitude, with swords and staves, and with the chief priests and the scribes and the elders. And he that betrayed him had given them a token, saying, Whomsoever I shall kiss, the same is he. Take him and lead him away safely. And as soon as he had come, he went straightway to him, and said, Master, Master, and kissed him. Or Rabbi, Rabbi, and kissed him. And they laid their hands on him and took him. And one of them that stood by drew a sword, and smote the servant of the high priest, and cut off his ear. And Jesus answered and said unto them, Are ye come out as against a thief with swords and with staves to take me? I was with you daily in the temple teaching, and you took me not, but the scriptures must be fulfilled. So it's giving the reference of Daniel 9:26 and Isaiah 53:7. And they all took him and fled. There followed him a certain young man, having a linen cloth cast about his body. And the young men laid hold on him, and he left the linen cloth and fled from them naked. So if I can, let me turn to Isaiah 53:7. Sorry. So Isaiah 53:7 says, He was oppressed and afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He is brought as a lamb to the slaughter, and as sheep before her shearers is dumb. He opened not his mouth. He was taken from prison and from judgment, and who shall declare his generation? For he was cut off out of the land of the living. For the transgression of my people was he stricken, and he made his grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death. Because he had done no violence, neither was any deceit in his mouth. It had pleased the Lord to bruise him. He hath put him to grief. When thou shalt make his soul an offering for sin, he shall see his seed. He shall prolong his days, and the pleasure of the Lord shall prosper in his hand. He shall see of the travail of his soul, and shall be satisfied. By his knowledge shall my righteous servant justify many, for he shall bear their iniquities. Therefore I will divide with him the portion of the great, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong, because he hath poured out his soul unto death, and he was numbered with the transgressors. And he bare the sin of many, and made intercession for the transgressors. And then before that it says, we all like sheep have gone astray, we have turned everyone to his own way, and the Lord hath laid on him the iniquity of us all. And then verse 5 says, but he was wounded for our transgressions, he was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we were healed. And verse 4 it says, surely he has borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of God, and afflicted. And it says in verse 3, he was despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. And we hid, as it were, our faces from him. He was despised, and we esteemed him not. So maybe I can turn to Daniel 9. I had it. Daniel 9:23, I think it was. Here it speaks about, know therefore and understand. So this is a prophecy of Daniel, that from the angel Gabriel, I think it is, he's explaining to him the vision. And it says, know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah the Prince shall there be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. The street shall be built again in the wall, even in troublesome times. So this, you can read the book of Ezra and Nehemiah. They talk about the rebuilding of Jerusalem and the return of the exiles back to Jerusalem. So Daniel has received a vision from his exile all the way to Jesus. So the Messiah, the Prince, shall be 7 weeks, and after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the Prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood. So it'll come quickly, and unto the end of war desolations are determined. And he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week. In the midst of the week he shall cause a sacrifice and the oblation to cease, and for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate even until the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. So it's quite an interesting prophecy. I'm not going to go into it, but it does speak about the Messiah being cut off, but not for himself. And so that was written 500 to 600 BC, before Christ. So I'm a mark again. Where was I? And they led Jesus away to the high priest, and with him were assembled all the chief priests and the elders and the scribes. And Peter followed him afar off, even unto the palace of the high priest, and he sat with the servants, and warmed himself at the fire. And the chief priests and all the council sought for witness against Jesus to put him to death, and found none. For many bare false witness against him, but their witness agreed not together. And there arose certain and bare false witness against him, saying, we heard him say, I will destroy this temple that is made with hands, and within 3 days I will build another made without hands. So they're misquoting him, because he said, destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up, and he was talking about his body. But neither so did their witness agree together. And the high priest stood up in the midst and asked Jesus, saying, answerest thou nothing? So this is the silence Isaiah was talking about. What is it which these witnesses witness against thee? But he held his peace and answered nothing. Again the high priest asked him and said unto him, art thou the Christ, the Son of the Blessed? And Jesus said, I am. And you shall see the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of power and coming in the clouds of heaven. So the fact that he says I am is also a reference again to what God said who he was to Moses. He said, I am what I am. I am has sent has sent you. Then the high priest rent his clothes and said, What need have we of any further witnesses? You have heard the blasphemy. So they're accusing God himself, the Son of God, of blasphemy. What think ye? And they all condemned him to be guilty of death. And some began to spit on him and cover his face and buffet him and say unto him, Prophesy. So they're mocking him. And the servants did strike him with the palms of their hands. And as Peter was beneath in the palace, there cometh one of the maids of the high priest. And when she saw Peter warming himself, she looked upon him and said, And thou also wast with Jesus of Nazareth. But he denied, saying, I know not, neither understand what you sayest. And he went out in the porch, and the cock crew. And the maid saw him again, and began to say to them that stood by, This is one of them. And he denied it again. And a little after that, they that stood by said again to Peter, Surely thou art one of them, for thou art a Galilean, and thy speech agreeth unto you. But he began to curse and to swear, saying, I know not this man of whom you speak. And the second time the cock crew, Peter called to mind the words that Jesus said unto him, Before the cock crow twice, thou shalt deny me thrice. And when he thought thereon, he wept. So that's the end of Mark chapter 14. I'm not going to talk too much because I don't have time at the moment, but I hope that that was helpful, and then maybe I can try and just share some things that I was learning from history that I said I might read the history book about the siege of Jerusalem, but the prophecies of Daniel and all these kings from Cyrus and all this intertestamental period has been quite interesting, but I haven't got my mind around it yet. And then I just wanted to mention another prophecy that Jesus had made about the destruction of Jerusalem. In Luke 21:20-21, he says, But when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, then know that its desolation is near. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let those who are inside the city depart, and let not those who are out in the country enter into it. So he knew that it was what was going to happen. So I hope to continue with chapter 15 as soon as possible, and maybe share some other things if I can, God willing. I hope everyone is well and at peace. May Jesus bless you all and keep you, and may his face shine on you. Have a lovely day wherever you are.